Welcome to today's lesson on representing linear proportional situations with equations in the form of y is equal to k times x. Our do now reads, Karen was at batting practice and hit 18 softballs for every 24 she was pitched. Write an equation to represent the relationship between the number of softballs pitched, x, and the number of hits, y. And the hint is to find her constant of proportionality or rate. So starting off, I needed to annotate the word problem to help me figure out what the important information to solve this problem is. And so the hint is to find the constant of proportionality. So that equation is k is equal to y over x. And in this case, y is the number of hits. So she actually hit 18 softballs. And x is the number of softballs pitched. So she hit 18 softballs for every 24 pitched. And now that we have this fraction right here, we can simplify it by dividing. So if we did 18 divided by 24, we would get 0.75. And if we wanted to, we can actually simplify this fraction, 18 over 24, by listing out the common factors, or listing out the factors first and then identifying the common factors. So the factors of 18 are 3 times 6, and the factors of 24 are 3 times 8. So the common factor that they have is 3, but we can also list out the factors of 6 and 8 since they're not prime numbers. So the factors of 6 are 3 times 2, and the factors of 8 are 4 times 2, and the common factor is 2. So that means that 18 over 24 can be simplified to 3 over 4. And now we have to write our equation in the form of y is equal to k times x. So our k is 0.75, or it's the 3/4. So our equation is y is equal to 0.75x. Or you could have written y is equal to 3 over 4 times x. Today's TEK is 8.5a. Our lesson target is that scholars will represent linear proportional situations with equations in the form of y is equal to k times x. And our DOL is given 4 problems. Scholars will represent linear proportional situations with equations with 100% accuracy. Our first IG problem reads, 5 sodas from the vending machine cost $7.50. We have to write an equation that represents a relationship between the total cost of sodas, which is our y value, and the number of sodas purchased, which is our x value. So we're going to start off by figuring out what our constant of proportionality is using the equation k is equal to y over x. So in this case, our y value is the total cost. So we have k is equal to $7.50 over x, which is the number of sodas. So in this case, 5 sodas. So we have $7.50 divided by 5, and we get $1.50. And that means that the cost for one soda is $1.50. And so now we can write our equation. So we know that our equation has to be in the form y is equal to k times x. So we have y is equal to, our k is $1.50 times x. And now we can write this equation in this middle column. So we have 150x, and we can just plug in some numbers for x to see what our y values would be. So let's just say 0, 5, and 10. So when x is 0, we're multiplying 150 or $1.50 by 0, and that gives us 0. When x is 5, we're multiplying 150 by 5, and that gives us 750. And so this is accurate because that was our first sentence for this problem. 5 sodas cost $7.50. And then lastly, when x is 10, we're multiplying 150 by 10. And we get 15. And we can verify that this is a proportional relationship because the change in y values are the same to the change in x values. So the change in y values in this case are consistent. We're adding $7.50 for every 5 sodas. Our next IJU problem reads, there are 25 grams of fiber for every 4 cups of winter squash. We have to write an equation that represents the relationship between the grams of fiber, y, and the cups of winter squash, x. So again, we're going to start off by finding our constant of proportionality. So the equation is k is equal to y over x. So we have k is equal to, in this case, our y is the grams of fiber, which was 25, over our x, which was the cups of winter squash, which was 4. So if we divide 25 by 4, we get 6.25. So that means that there's 6.25 or 6 and 2500 grams of fiber per squash. And from here, we can write our equation. Since our equation has to be in the form y is equal to k times x, we have y is equal to, since our k is 6 and 2500ths, we have y is equal to 6.25x, and that's going to go in our middle column of our 3-column process chart. So from here, I'm just going to plug in different x values. So let's just say 0, 4, and 8. And so when x is 0, we're multiplying 6.25 by 0. When x is 4, we're multiplying 6.25 by 4. And lastly, when x is 8, we're multiplying 6.25 by 8. 6.25 times 0 is 0. 6.25 times 4 is 25, which goes back to our sentence for this problem, that there's 25 grams of fiber for every 4 cups of winter squash. And lastly, 6.25 times 8 is 50. So there's a we do problem and then 2 you do problems. And then your DOL, it's 4 questions on a Google form. Thank you so much for following along in today's lesson, and see you in the next math video.